Welcome back, lads. You know the name of the game. This month is Demoman. Analysis, fun facts, and rating every one of Demoman's unique weapons. Let's get it. The Ullapool Booties, added June 23rd, 2011. A must-have for Demo Knight. In fact, it's the only way you can play true Demo Knight. However, if you don't want to play Demo Knight, but you also can't aim your grenade launcher, you can use this item to become a 200 health, sticky spamming Demoman. Extremely good and a very versatile weapon. It's a very, very high A tier. Trivia. Once upon a time, the Ullapool Booties was even better for sticking spamming Demoman. On release, it actually lacked the 10% movement speed bonus and only granted you 100% turn control rather than 200, though in the gunmetal update, oh the glorious gunmetal update, the movement speed bonus was added, as well as a 25% charge on kill mechanic. It didn't last long though. The 10% movement speed on wearer was changed to only be in effect if you had one of the 3 shields equipped. Jumper, added June 18th, 2014. Great for soldiers, but prior to the Jungle Inferno, this thing was hated by the competitive players due to the constant deploy and undeploy mechanic it had prior. I also didn't have this in the original video, but you're going to get 2 pieces of trivia with this one. I ranked it in the C tier, which is probably about where it should be. If this was pre-Jungle Inferno, I probably would have put it in the high B tier. Anyway, 2 pieces of trivia. First, before it was patched, originally if you were lit on fire by the cow mangler, this is simply off the top of my head, that's how well I remember this, you would be able to basically float. You would never actually descend, which is pretty interesting. And another piece of trivia, this item cannot be equipped alongside backpack cosmetics due to occupying the same spot. I know this is pretty obvious, but for some newer players that have never tried it, yeah, you actually cannot equip the base jumper if you have a backpack item. The more you know. Added October 10th, 2007. It's a stock melee. There's very little reason to run this over Demoman's swords, but if you want something reliable, it is an option. C tier. Trivia. As some may know, the bottle got the ability to break in the Jungle Inferno update of 2017. However, this was originally a feature to begin with. On the game's release back in 2007, a decade prior, the bottle did break, though at some point this bugged out and prevented the bottle from breaking. 17th, 2009, the War update. This is the most vanilla shield there is. You can't go wrong, great for Hybrid Knight due to its much higher resistances than the other shields, but the other shields offer more for Demo Knight himself. Though, this weapon is still A tier. Trivia. On release, the Chargin Targe had team-colored stripes rather than the yellow ones it has now. It also offered a 65% resistance to explosives, which meant that a pill would only do 35 damage. Kind of insane. The Claidheamh Mòr, added December 17th, 2010. On release, the sword was not too bad, being a good side grade to the Eyelander. However, in the Tough Break update, this weapon became a joke, with some of the worst stats I probably have ever seen. Some could argue it was a master of all trades, but this is a lie. It wasn't a master of anything. However, it was reverted, almost, in the Jungle Inferno update. On release, it originally had a negative 15 HP on wearer, which made it so that you would have 160 HP, but it had the extra 0.5 seconds charge. Then it was neutered, though when it was reverted, in quotations, they didn't reinstill the health penalty, they instead kept the negative 15% damage vulnerability. This isn't bad for Hybrid Knight, but for Demo Knight, the negative 15% damage vulnerability effectively gives him 149 HP. Well, even with this, in the current state, it's not that bad of a weapon. B tier. Trivia. These are the stats that the Claidheamh Mòr had between the Tough Break update and the Jungle Inferno update. Plus 25 HP on kill, melee refills 25% of your charge meter, with the downside of a 15% damage vulnerability on wearer and no random critical hits. Yeah, the Eyelander, released December 17th, 2009. Little to say, it's a go-to for Demo Knight, and for good reason. It gives you a speed boost, charge damage boost, and health boost for a minimal 25 health penalty. And while that doesn't sound great, You gotta realize this is often paired with the Alibaba Wee Booties, which gives you a 25 health bonus anyway, bringing you up to the normal Demoman health. And even then, it only takes 2 kills to get above normal health. And you get additional speed and charge damage if you have a shield. It's a great sword. High A tier. Trivia. When the Eyelander came out, it originally didn't have the green eye glow effect, instead having more of a fire yellow color instead. The grenade launcher. It released with the game on October 10th, 2007. You can't go wrong. It's very simple. Just time your pills and deal a buttload of damage. While the Iron Bomber and Loch-n-Load have utility, and the loose cannon's kind of fun, this weapon is a staple of Demoman. A tier. Oh boy, I've been looking forward to this one. Kind of the reason I even made the original trivia video. But, trivia. As we can see, the grenade launcher model has 6 cylinders. This is because in early beta, the grenade launcher held 6 rather than 4. This was changed before the game launched. Except not completely. Some may not know this, but on the PS3 version of TF2, the patch was never added. So if you play it on PlayStation 3, the grenade launcher still holds 6 shots. 2. In early playtesting, the pill was meant to detonate off the first bounce, even if it hit a wall. We can see this displayed in the Meet the Demoman video. 3. The grenade launcher in 2007 used to have visible pills in the chamber. And finally, in 2007 as well, the grenade launcher used to hold 30 in reserve, but this was lowered to 16. The Half-Zatoichi, added March 10th, 2011. One of the weird demo soldier shared weapons, a great sword on Demoman, specifically Demo Knight, as the gaining 50% health back is a great bonus. But for soldiers, it's just kind of okay. He already has a ton of melee weapons as is, so this one's just kind of a whatever melee weapon. Overall, with everything taken into account, B tier. Trivia. For those who didn't play at the time, you used to be unable to sheath the Half-Zatoichi until you got a kill with it. This was considered honor-bound. This was changed to subtracting 50 health if you failed to get a kill, and only being unable to sheath the weapon if you were below 50 health. 2. The Half-Zatoichi could randomly crit at one point. It also gave back 100% health rather than just 50. And lastly, the weapon will instantly kill anyone who is also wielding the Half-Zatoichi. I feel like this is common knowledge, but just in case you didn't know, or you're new to the game, yeah, it actually does have that stat. The Iron Bomber, added December 22nd, 2014. If you weren't using the stock grenade launcher, you're using this. The definition of a side grade. It could be easier to learn due to how the TF2 physics work, and the fact that Iron Bomber grenades do not roll. There's really not much to go over on this weapon, it's just an overall solid weapon. A tier. Trivia. Something most likely everyone knows at this point. For a long time, the Iron Bomber grenade's hitbox didn't match their visual hitbox. So basically, the hitbox of the Iron Bomber was scaled up for some reason. It was a bit too big for its visual model. Some used to claim that this is why the Iron Bomber was basically a direct upgrade to stock. Other than that, the Iron Bomber hasn't had too much interesting happen to it. It's had a few stat changes, such as the fact that it originally had a 2-second fuse, whereas now it has a 1.4, but other than that, there's really nothing else to say about this weapon. The Loch-n-Load, added December 10th, 2010. This weapon's okay. It can make it easier to hit direct shots due to the projectile speed bonus, and the fact that it has no grenade temple, which it didn't always have. It is also great for taking out buildings due to the 20% damage bonus against building stats. Overall, it's not that bad. B tier. Trivia. Okay, stick with me. This one is going to be a long one. The Loch-n-Load has a very long and rich history. When it came out, it was a little bit different than it is now. It still had the shatters when hitting the ground stat, and the additional projectile speed it does now, but it used to hold 2 pills rather than 3, which is why it only has 2 chambers in the first place, sported a 10% damage bonus in general, and rather than a 25% smaller blast radius, it would deal 25% more self-inflicted blast damage, which meant it was more dangerous to use up close. It would be in the Hatless update of 2011 that the Loch-n-Load would cement itself as Demoman's, well, light class deleter, right? This weapon has a history. Long history. The reason this happened, the reason for this, was because the damage bonus was increased from 10% to 20%. Wait, you might be thinking, wouldn't that mean the pill would do 120 damage and not be able to kill light classes? This is where a little thing called random damage spread comes into play. Random damage spread was a mechanic in Team Fortress 2, and it still is, and it can be enabled on any server, but typically it's disabled by default, that would vary the amount of damage a weapon would do by 15%, either more or less than base damage. So, when it had a 10% damage bonus, it could deal between 94 and 127. While yes, it was capable of one-shotting light classes, chances were much, much lower. With the 20% damage bonus, it would now deal between 102 and 138 damage, which gave it a much larger margin of error for the grenade to one-tap. The Reign of Terror would end on December 22nd, 2014, aka the Smithmas 2014 update, where the Loch-n-Load now capped at 124 damage, so it could not one-tap full health like classes anymore. Well, it didn't completely end the Reign of Terror. This update also removed the visual grenade tumble, making it as straight as an arrow, and increased the clip size from 2 to 3. It removed the self-damage penalty, replacing it with the 25% blast radius penalty, which hardly mattered. This weapon isn't really for crowds anyway. But the Reign of Terror would truly end in the Gunmetal update when the 20% damage bonus was changed to a 20% damage bonus against buildings. But it can still two-shot level 3 sentries, which is nice. The Loose Cannon, added December 20th, 2012. The Loose Cannon is a meme weapon. It can be useful for extending trims and sticky jumps, though as a primary it is far less practical. The Double Dunk is awesome, and like I stated, the weapon is fun to use, though it is not nearly as reliable as other grenade launchers. C tier. Trivia. Another weapon with very rich history, back to back with the Loch-n-Load. Here we go. The Loose Cannon didn't actually release with the Double Dunk feature, at least not legitimately, having it being added 8 months later. Now, the Double Dunk technically did exist, sort of, but it didn't give mini crits and it had no sound effect or particle effect. In addition, the charge used to be twice as long, being able to charge for up to 2 seconds rather than just 1. This was actually worse though, because you would want it to be quicker. You would have to charge it for nearly 2 seconds for it to explode near you, or just to perform a regular loose cannon jump. The Loose Cannon also had a stat where it would do half damage if the cannonball hit the ground before exploding, meaning direct hits and what would become the Double Donks were important to make this weapon work. Though it wasn't all bad. The projectile speed used to be 50% faster rather than 20%. This doesn't actually mean the cannonball went further, but it technically travels faster than stock, but due to how TF2's mass and air resistance work, it can go a little further than it does now. That's something you would probably want to look up in another video. It's too complex to explain here. It used to knock back enemies ridiculously far, whereas now it's more akin to air blast, and it did 60 damage on direct hit rather than 50. But over time, these features would be taken away and new ones would be added until the Tough Break update where we got what we have now. So it is a little bit better than it was on release, technically. But, it's whatever. Having this next to the Loch-n-Load, oh man, this was difficult. 2 very long segments back to back. Let's do a short one. The Pain Train? What is added to the game? Let's see. March 18th, 2010. Huh. Joking, of course, but yeah, the Pain... Anyone legitimately use this weapon? This weapon is irrelevant, and it's a straight downgrade on any map without a capture point or payload. It's stupid, D tier. Trivia. Well known at this point, but the Pain Train was originally intended for Pyro, rather than the Soldier and Demoman. The Persian Persuader, another June 23rd, 2011 weapon. The Uber update truly added a lot of weapons. The Persian Persuader is a fine sword. The chargeback and hit is nice. and the ammo boxes being able to give you charge for your shield is great. It is most definitely not a hybrid weapon though, as it reduces the ammo when equipped, and it's pretty extreme, it's 80%. Though, for Demo Knight, whom it was intended for, it's not that bad of a sword. B tier. Trivia. The Persian Persuader has always been a Demo Knight focus, but it worked a bit differently. It only had two stats when it released, a flat double recharge rate, 100%, for all shields, and it also returned health for picking up ammo packs, which was pretty neat. That was it though. There were only two upsides, though the second one kind of worked like a downside, since you couldn't actually, collect ammo, because the ammo would immediately turn into health, so you would have to go back to the resupply in order to get sticky or grenade launcher ammo. The weapon was completely reworked into what we have now in 2015 during the Tough Break update. The Quickiebomb Launcher, added December 22nd, 2014. Just makes sticky spamming easier. Fun. B tier. Trivia. The Quickiebomb Launcher used to work a bit differently. It held 6, but the sticky bombs would fizzle out after 2 seconds if you didn't detonate them. Yeah, this was actually intended for sticky spam, as the name would suggest. The duration was increased to 4, before being entirely reworked into what we have now in the Meet Your Match update. The Jumpers. The Rocket Jumper and Sticky Jumper. With the Rocket Jumper being released September 30th, 2010, and the Sticky Jumper being added October 27th of 2010. During the Scream Fortress update. The jumpers are not real weapons, they're intended for learning how to rocket and sticky jump. The sticky jumper definitely has some real game use, especially if you're a pill god and just want a way to get around without using one of the shields. Though the rocket jumper is only really useful for soldiers and the rare shotgun plus rocket jumper soldier. They're not bad, but they're really hard to rank. Though if I had to rank them, which I have to, overall these are C tier items. Though the sticky jumper technically does have a bit more utility than the rocket jumper overall. Trivia. There's quite a bit for these two. It's going to be another long segment. Shared facts. The rocket jumper and sticky jumper were kind of weird on release. Both the rocket and sticky jumper looked identical to stock. Like literally, it was the rocket launcher and Stickybomb Launcher, but they couldn't do any damage. The sticky jumper even used the regular Stickybomb model. In addition, when the Stickybomb Launcher was added, both the Sticky Jumper and the Rocket Jumper received a health penalty. The Rocket Jumper didn't release with one, but gained one when the Sticky Jumper was added. It was a 75 health penalty for the Sticky Jumper and a 100 health penalty for the Rocket Jumper, bringing down both the Soldier and Demoman's health to just 100. For some reason. The Sticky Jumper and Rocket Jumper would eventually have their health penalties changed to 100% bullet, fire, and explosive vulnerability. Which was actually worse for the Demoman, as he now had effectively 88 health against really anything but like fall damage and melee hits. It's kind of weird. Eventually, they would be given new models. Not the ones we have now. These ones. In my personal opinion, the good ones. In fact, I even use a custom skin for the Rocket Jumper, but I can't find one for the Sticky Jumper. The reason they got new models in the first place was so that Medic would stop Ubering players with the jumper, and enemies could tell if a soldier or Demoman were in fact using the jumpers and not stock. This didn't 100% work. In 2016, during the Meet Your Match update, we would eventually be given the ugly models we have now. And another little fact I thought I would add on there, you used to actually be able to carry the intel with the jumpers, but this was changed in 2012, as I guess it made them, too useful. The Sticky Jumper originally used the stock Sticky Bomb Grenade. It was changed to the current one in September of 2011. There's an interesting fact about that one as well, but I'm going to save that for a weapon coming up soon. If you've been in the TF2 sphere for a while, you probably already know what I'm referring to. Another fact, the Sticky Jumper actually didn't release with the Sticky Bomb cap it has now. You could place 8 stickies and basically teleport across the map. This was changed in September 2013 when they added the max of 6 sticky bombs at once. Rocket Jumper facts. The Rocket Jumper was originally able to allow you to survive the Kamikaze taunt when performed with either pickaxe, the Equalizer, or the Escape Plan. And another fact, the jumpers at one time could random crit, which obviously didn't do anything, but it could. The Scotsman Skullcutter, added May 10th, 2010. The medieval mode melee. This thing is kinda ridiculous, but less annoying than something like the Scorch Shot. This weapon has a 20% damage bonus, which allows it to do 78 damage on hit. Which sounds like nothing to write home about, but this thing is capable of random critting. As you know, melee crits are a dime a dozen. This crit is despicable, capable of one-shotting soldiers even with the battalion's backup, as it does 234 damage. The Skullcutter isn't blatantly overpowered, but it can be cheap sometimes for sure. Its downside really does help balance this weapon out quite a bit though. B tier. Trivia. This one is straight from the TF2 wiki. There is an unused axe located in the backpack files that resembles the Skullcutter. Based on the similar designs and file names, it may have been a prototype for the Horseless Headless Horseman's Headtaker. 2. On release, the 15% movement speed penalty used to apply regardless if you had it out or not. It's Mismas 2014, this would be changed to only while active, which made it a little bit less of a pain to run in your loadout in general. The Scottish Resistance added December 17th, 2009. A must-use for ambient players, unless you're one of those weird Demonite ambient players. In casual, this thing gets very little playtime. The Scottish Resistance whole shtick is the fact that it's a defense and trap-oriented Stickybomb Launcher, with its ability to place 14 stickies and detonate stickies one at a time. Though, because more Stickybomb users are brain dead, including myself, it gets little use. Still a good weapon for what it's supposed to do. B tier. Trivia. 1. I was talking about this in the Sticky Jumper portion, but the Sticky Jumper's current Stickybomb model was actually planned for the Scottish Resistance. It was changed later for some reason. And to add on to that, the current Scottish Resistance Stickybomb wasn't the one planned right after the Sticky Jumper model. There was actually another model, this one. It's a normal Stickybomb, but with lots of spikes. This one was likely changed because it resembled stock too much. 3. The Scottish Resistance used to claim that it could place twice as many stickies, though as you know, 8 times 2 is 16. The Scottish Resistance can only place 14. So, sometime before the weapon was shipped, the number was reduced by 2 for some reason. And last, the Scottish Resistance used to have a 0.4 second slower arm time, which was doubled in 2010 to a 0.8 second slower time. It did receive a 25% faster firing speed in return. The Splendid Screen, added June 23rd, 2011. The main Demonite shield, at least nowadays. This item offers decent resistances, a fast recharge, crits, increased shield bash damage, all you would want for Demonite. Sure, the other shields work for Demonite, of course, though if your goal is to do a ton of damage as Demonite, this is usually the one to run. A tier. Trivia. Nothing groundbreaking. But the Splendid Screen used to have a staggering 5% additional resistance to fire compared to now, having a 25% fire resistance, before being lowered to 20% like the explosive resistance is. 2. In addition, the shield bash was the main draw. However, I would say now one of the main draws is the increased recharge rate. On release, the Splendid Screen lacked this recharge bonus. And last, it's pretty well known, but if you're like me, you may be oblivious, the Splendid Screen does have other styles, one with a spike and one with an arrow and a spike. The Stickybomb Launcher, added October 10th, 2007 with the release of the game. There is a weapon in the game specifically designed to spam sticky bombs, and this one does it better. It does it all. Spam, set traps, use intelligently by like one person in all of TF2. The Stickybomb Launcher is just so versatile, it's unreal. This is no doubt one of the best weapons in the game, period. A tier. Trivia. Unlike many stock weapons, the Stickybomb Launcher has gone through many changes. Its first change came in February 2008 when the reserve ammo for the Stickybomb Launcher was reduced from 40 to just 24. Unlike the rocket launcher, this was kept and never touched again. If you don't know what I'm referring to something I said in part 1. Apologize for that. The sticky bombs themselves have also gone through numerous changes. They ramp up similar to rockets, now where the closer you are to the projectile, the more damage it will do, rather than the closer the enemy is to the projectile, the more damage it will do. This ultimately reduces how much damage the sticky bomb is actually capable of. For a short time after the Loch-n-Load War update of 2014, there was a 2-second wait time for stickies to fully ramp up in damage, though this was reverted within a week. Then there was a whole heap of changes during the Smith 2014 patch. One that really doesn't apply anymore since most servers turn this off by default, and Valve's official servers do as well, is that random damage spread was changed from a plus-minus 10% variance to a plus-minus 2% variance. Though I thought I'd mention it, even though most of the time this isn't going to matter. The sticky bombs were also given a new ramp-up system. When they're in the air, they will start at 85% the normal sticky bomb explosion radius. If the sticky bomb exists for 2 full seconds or touches the ground, the radius will be increased to 100%, what it is normally. Though while this is true, the radius of the sticky bomb, along with the grenade launcher's explosions, were reduced in this update to that of what the rocket is, from 159 hammer units to 146 hammer units. Also some small bug fixes from there, but nothing major. Here's some extra small facts. 1. The Stickybomb Launcher used to be in the primary spot for Demoman's loadout, so it really is true that the Demoman has 2 primaries. 2. In the beta, the Stickybomb Launcher was supposed to be more like it is in TFC, not sticky, instead rolling, just being a detonating grenade. We can see this in the second 2006 TF2 beta trailer. The Stickybomb Launcher's original model would end up being used for the regular grenade launcher, though there is a chance that this model was used for both the regular grenade launcher and the Stickybomb Launcher. As in TFC, the Stickybomb Launcher and grenade launcher used the same weapon model, with the difference being whether or not the little scope iron sights were up. And also, the Stickybomb Launcher would have probably held 6 like it does in TFC, though I don't know. And last, a little fact I copped straight from the wiki. Sticky bombs are fired at approximately 34 miles per hour, and when converted to kilometers per hour, that's about 55. The Tide Turner, added June 18th, 2014. The Tide Turner as it is now is a fine shield. While offering the least resistances out of the Trinity, it does offer great mobility options with its full turn control stat. Whether you're a traditional demo knight wanting to do cool tripping tricks, or a hybrid knight who wants some resistance, but wants a shield that's more likely to get him out of danger. It's a great shield overall. A tier. Trivia. This thing was quite ridiculous when it was added to the game. Originally, this thing was capable of critting just like every other shield. This was absolutely busted, as when it was added, it lacked the damage reduction shield time stat. Full turn control plus crits plus a reasonable amount of resistance, it was just too much. In Smith 2014, they reduced the amount of chargeback on kill from 100% to 75%, but more importantly, they added the damage reduces charge. Though when this stat was originally added, it used to be a 3-to-1 shield time loss to damage ratio. This meant that it only took a pistol shot to nearly deplete your whole shield, 33 total damage to get rid of all of it. They tried to fix it up a little bit by having fall damage and self damage no longer take away from shield time. They added that a couple months later, but this didn't do anything. It would be finally in the Tough Break update that the resistances were reduced by 10% each, down to 15%, though the shield loss percentage to damage ratio was made 1-to-1. So basically it takes 100 damage to deplete all of the shield. Though obviously with the charge time included, it's a little bit lower than that, but you get what I mean. And the Tide Turner couldn't crit anymore, instead dealing mini crits. In its current state, it's not all too bad. The Ullapool Caber, added December 17th, 2010. Going from the Market Gardener for demo to becoming a meme weapon that most people run when they get bored using the Eyelander. The Ullapool Caber is terrible. The damage is unable to one-shot light classes consistently, though it technically can. And it damages you in the process. Don't even get me started on the swing speed and deploy speed penalties. Those are just... God. Though, I guess one neat thing about the Ullapool Caber is that if you use it with a Chargin Targe or a Splendid Screen and get a crit, it is capable of one-tapping heavies without overheal. But, even with that, D tier. Trivia. This weapon inconsistently one-shotting light classes is a problem now, but this thing used to be a medic deleter. The explosions plus melee hit itself could easily do enough damage to kill medics. Though in the gunmetal update, the ramp up was reduced and the base explosion damage was reduced from 100 to 75, which meant it could no longer one-hit medics anymore. It was okay from here until they added the 20% slower firing speed and 100% slower deploying tough break, killing this weapon and cementing it as the funny meme weapon that sucks, rather than the funny meme weapon that is annoyingly effective. Though the base damage of the Caber was increased from 35 to 55 to compensate a little, but that didn't do much.